friends, and welcome back to another Majora's Mask project making video. We are now up to the 17th mask, I believe. It's still blowing my mind that we are over halfway through this project and I am running out of masks to make, but I've kind of just got masks now lying all over my house. Just as like a creative explosion of Zelda stuff. I've had quite a few people comment saying that I should definitely decorate and have a wall dedicated to the masks once I'm finished the project and have it set up like the title screen in that specific order. But I think I may have mentioned this in a video before. We are unfortunately renting the house that we are currently living in, and I can only put up so many command hooks, and some of the masks just don't sit well on command hooks either. So I am basically delaying that creative idea of displaying the masks until we either buy a house ourselves, which is nowhere in the near future, or I find a way to just display them on the ground or on a shelf or something. I don't know, we will work it out. Now, to the actual mask. You guys made a point by saying that because I made Gorman's mask, or the Troop Leader's mask, I probably should have made Romani's mask first, and I did mention this in the last video as well. So I am proud to announce that, along with a couple of your comments, I have decided the 17th mask of the series will be Romani's mask, which is the cow mask, and I think this one's super cute. I had been delaying this one for a little bit because I had no idea how I would create it more as like a hat rather than a mask, and how I would utilize the materials that I had already been using, the foil, the foam clay and stuff, to get it to look like a cow. Now in the game, the way to get the Romani's mask is a two-part quest. The first one is to defend the cows with Romani on the farm from aliens, which is kind of wild, and I do know from when I played it, it is a little bit difficult to get through that night, but it is doable. And once you do that, you then help her older sister Cremia protect her milk delivery on the second day. Once you have done this two-part quest, you get given the Romani's mask, which is the cow mask, and you can get access to the milk bar late at night. Now, the process of making the mask, I have decided that I will use a mask base and I will sit it on top of my head instead of over my face. It'll be on my head and I will kind of build up from there. I don't want to utilize too much foil because I actually am running out and I'm still out of hot glue, so I probably will just use up a bunch of masking tape, but I'll see if I can maybe crumple up some paper, shape that into the cow shape of the head that I need, cover that with foil and then foam clay from there. Then add the bits and pieces like the ears and the horns and even the chin strap. I'm a little bit worried about the chin strap because once the foam clay hardens, I don't know how easy it'll be to actually sit my face in it. So we'll see if that works. I know I've done these videos so many times, but I think I can't remember what else I say in the introduction to these videos. So I'll stop yapping and I guess I'll just let you guys get to the mask making.
Like I said in the introduction, I had no plan as to how I would really be making the mask, so I grabbed the Amazon mask base, grabbed a bunch of printer paper, crumpled it all up, and started to use masking tape and stick it down. My hope was the paper would eventually take the shape of the cow head, and I knew I was running out of foil, so I wanted to avoid using that as much as possible. Paper is a good filler to use instead of the foil. It takes up a lot of space and does retain shape once it is crumpled, so it was kind of working out. Once I was happy with the shape, or the base of the shape, I then covered it with aluminium foil and taped down using masking tape where exactly I wanted it to hold. I also made sure to completely seal it along the bottom because I don't like the feeling of foil on my hair, and for any uneven parts I just crumpled up some foil and covered that. Once I was happy with the shape of that, it was time to start sculpting the ears and the horns. I did just use foil for this because they were only small pieces and I wasn't too worried that it would use up a lot of foil. I tried my best to make them look as accurate as possible, and yes, I was using Models Resource as well, just as a reference as to what the 3D model should be looking like, and from what I could see, the ears were a lot bigger than the horns. So this is what I shaped them to look like. The next part was actually attaching these pieces to the head. I used some masking tape and just kind of rolled it up to be double-sided and attached them, making sure they were kind of stuck before adding a layer of foil over the top and then taping around the base of that. Without the ears, Alex said it kind of looked like Charizard, and I thought it was hilarious because it really did. I did the same thing with the ears, attaching with the masking tape and the foil around the base, but because they're a lot thinner around the base, I tried to make sure that it was completely strengthened, and I used a lot of tape at the bottom of the ears. And this is what it was basically starting to look like. I also made sure that the shape of the ears were a little bit concave so I could add details with the paint and makeup later. This is also me just making sure it kind of fit on my head. There was a little bit of wiggle room, but I thought with the chin strap, it would eventually just be held in place anyway. Now that I had the basic shape, it was time to cover the whole thing in foam clay. The plan was to cover the head in foam clay, including the horns, but not cover the ears. If there's anything I learned by doing the bunny hood, it's the weight of the foam clay and the foil of the ears may make them move, and I did not want them to droop because I did not have a lot of time to make this mask. I also didn't do the bottom because I wasn't too worried about it at this point, but I made sure to drench it in water and let it sit overnight to dry. Once it was dry, I grabbed a pencil and started to sketch on where exactly I wanted the eyes, patches, nostrils, everything to be. Then I grabbed some more foam clay and I started to add these details. I wanted to use the foam clay, especially for the patches, even though they would be different colors, or at least a different color to the base. I wanted them to stand out as much as possible. I also wanted to shape the eyelids and the nose, since they are not flat on a normal cow, and then I covered the underneath and the ears as well. I didn't record the whole thing because I was on the phone with my sisters, but that was what it looked like when I was done. It was now time to add the chin strap. I was a little bit worried about it falling apart, and like I said, I was on a bit of a time crunch, but the idea was just to make it as light as possible. So I molded that with foil, using my hands as a guidance to the length that it should be, and made sure there were 2 flat pieces at the very ends of the strap, just so I had somewhere to attach it to the mask base when I was ready. It's a bit odd looking, but I was trusting the process. I also made sure to wrap masking tape around it just to kind of strengthen it a little bit more and give the foam clay something to hold onto, since it doesn't always stick to foil as much as possible, and I wanted to guarantee that it would be okay. This is me just measuring after I've created the chin strap to see whether it would definitely fit. Now it was time to attach, and like I said, I was also out of hot glue, so I was using more masking tape to attach it. I pressed the flat pieces inside the mask and stuck it down with masking tape, trying it on constantly and altering it as I went. This is what it looked like when it was fully attached. Yes, it's a little bit bent at the front, but I didn't mind that too much. I kind of also wanted it on an angle a little bit just so it was easier to stick my head in when it was dry. And now it was time to cover it with foam clay. I basically covered the whole thing, tried to smooth it down on the outside so it looked a little bit cohesive with the other foam clay on the head of the mask, completely covered it inside, and then made sure to drench it with water after I was done. Again, this is so it dries a lot smoother. I was also pretty happy with the details at this point, so I was hoping that I didn't have any issues, and when it was all dry, it looked even better. Now the next part that I had to do was paint the whole thing. Luckily, I had a lot of the shades that I already needed, which was a beige for the inside of the ears and the mouth-nose area, a white for most of the mask, and black for the patches. The black paint that I used was already too dark though, so I decided to mix in the tiniest little bit of white just to kind of lighten it up a little bit, or make the black a little bit more muted. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but basically it wasn't as sharp as the black was. Once I was happy with it, I covered the patches, nostrils, and even added some black patches to the chin strap. Because some of the paint was quite thick or offered full coverage, I thankfully didn't have to do as many coats. This is what it looked like with just 1 coat of the beige and 1 coat of the black. I luckily also had some brown paint which I used to cover the horns. I used the tiniest bit of white to leave a gap between the black patches and the start of the horns, and then I covered it in the brown paint that I already had, which was quite light. Then I mixed up a second shade of brown, which was using the brown I already had, and then just a touch of black to make it a little bit darker. I left another little gap and then covered the whole thing in brown. This is what I mean by the gaps. That one only needed the 2 coats of brown paint, so I wasn't too worried about that. And once that was dry, I went back and started to cover the nose area and the inside of the ears with another layer of beige. That's probably the only layer that really needed another coat of paint. Once I was happy with that, I did grab a white paint and start to fill in all the other gaps, including the eyelids, between the horns, on the ears, and every piece of white part of the mask. You might be wondering why I covered it in white paint when it's already white. Basically, it does fill in any gaps that the foam clay may have bubbled in. It makes it look a little bit more cohesive as well, and it also seals the foam clay. When foam clay dries, it dries as like a foam texture, but once you cover it with paint, it hardens. The last thing that I wanted to do was add some more details using some makeup and a pencil. I drew around the eyelids with pencil and then just used a black eyeshadow to shade in the corners a little bit more. Then I used a pinky color to add depth to the ears and the top of the nose. And that was basically the last of the details before I wanted to try it on. And that is the Romani's mask done. Please let me know if you like how it turned out. Feel free to subscribe if you want to follow along with the project, and let me know in the comments which mask you will want to see next. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye!